and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social side, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See the shit, force of air. Fuck them back, that's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries. Lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on UCY.TV, the best little network on the entire internet, bar none. I don't think you're going to find a lot of left-right politics being mouthed about on this network. Most of the people here are getting their act together and bearing down on what's important. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate the time I'm given each week on UCY.TV. Anyways, today's the 23rd of April. Got up this morning. The sky was bright blue. And walked uptown to get a cup of coffee. And by the time I headed uptown, we're about 2 hours west of Toronto, up on Lake Huron. This is not what you call a major, by any stretch of the imagination, a major flight route. Yesterday was a little chilly, but it was freaking blue sky all day. Today, it's warmer out, and a little bit warmer. And it was nice and blue sky, and walk up the store about 5-6 blocks, and I got planes going east west, west east, north south, north, Xing up the sky. The frickin' disaster out there this morning, and I wish I had an anti-aircraft gun or some Stinger missiles. But then I'd have to find out if they're passenger planes or not, because you don't want to take a passenger plane down. But this nonsense is completely out of hand. We used to shoot a lot of chemtrail videos back in, we shot a hell of a pile of them way back in 2008. And then you get to the point, what's the point? It's another chemtrail video. I went through all that nonsense, but they're spraying the living hell out of us today. We must need it. Maybe we're short barium or something. We don't have enough aluminum. I'm sure it's all policy for our health and make our garden grow better and so on and so forth. Because, hey, why would they do anything bad to us, right? Anyways, I'm gonna have to bitch slap a couple of groups today, because that's what I do, and I'm good at it. But first, I wanna read something I wrote I have this picture up here. It says slavery and genocide or UN acceptable. So somebody had seen that. I posted that originally way back in 2015. Took me a while to track it down. So I had made a really short little message there that, your country is a state of the UN, yada, yada, yada. So I'd expanded on a little bit last night. And I noticed a lot of this stuff that I posted long, long time ago, would slide through here because people they were still pretty sleepy. They're starting to wake up now, which is nice. So I just put this in. I do a lot of this stuff on Facebook just as a test, just to test where people are at. And so I just wrote this down with the picture, and I said your country is a member state of the amoral satanic UN, which is a correct statement. Think about that. That's the important part. Think about it. Don't just read it. Think about it. Your country is a member state, otherwise subservient to the UN, which is absolutely satanic. If you don't want to use the word satanic, use evil. We only got two things on this planet, good and evil. And the creator is supposed to be good, and the guy he kicked out is supposed to be evil. So, this has always been a struggle between good and evil. And the UN was created by the most evil, amoral people on the planet. That's a given. There's no room for debate on that. Now I sound like David Suzuki, eh? Debate's over. Well, the fact is that's who these guys are. And the UN does control the banking, the law, the media, your food, water, energy, health, education, etc. It's all controlled out of there. Because all the guys that started this thing, what is their theme all the time? Control everything, own nothing. They don't need to own anything. They just need to control it. If they control it, then they basically own the planet. They're the ones that created the wars, the depressions, that poisoned your water, poisoned your food. They're the ones that are running the vaccine businesses, the chemtrails, the Islamic invasion of the West can be traced. All of this stuff can be traced right back to the United Nations. You can trace it through the different foundations, the tax-exempt foundations, because these are the guys that you get these tax-exempt foundations. They make up these scenarios. They make up these false problems. And then they come up with a solution to the false problem. Something made up in the mind. Totally fictitious. And then they implement it. Because obviously once we have a problem, we have to get a solution for it. And they make up the problem, they make up the solution, and they screw with you. GMO foods, if you take that, for instance, the idea of GMO foods, the problem was that with the massively increasing population on the planet, we won't be able to feed all the people with regular farming practices, which is totally incorrect, of course, but we need a false problem because we want to poison your food. We want to take control of all of the food. So they remove all of the heritage seed, and they give you mono seed. They take all the seed and they store it up north in vaults, so they'll have it in case of some catastrophic situation on the planet. But what they did was they took away your food stock and took complete and total control over the food system. That's what they do. They're control freaks. They want to control everything. And it was Kissinger that said, control the food, control the people. Probably 80 to 90% of everything people stuff in their faces is bad for them. But then we have the science backing it up, and we have the the media backing it up, and we have the advertisements backing it up, and pretty soon, guess what? You're eating the crap. And it becomes normal. It's all about normalizing things that are absolutely not normal. Here, have a bowl of poison. I ain't eating poison. Well, we did it for your benefit. It's for the benefit of the world so everyone can be fed. But we do believe there's too many on the planet, so I wouldn't trust us too far. But people trust them because they don't read anything, they don't research anything, easily manipulated. And so they create the wars, depressions, poison your water, poison your food, vaccines, chemtrails, the Islamic invasion of the West, the LGBTQ group, global warming, etc. All are tools of deception and death, traceable to the UN psychopaths as they strive for world domination and mass depopulation. The one thing that really bothers me is this right-left nonsense that it just goes to prove that these people have anybody that's rambling on about right-left has absolutely no legitimacy whatsoever, and they should be avoided like the plague because they are part and parcel of the problem. And the whole right-left situation was created by these guys to keep the people fighting amongst themselves. I am going to break for 1/2 second. There's somebody outside here I need to speak with, so I shall be back within a minute. I need to have a very quick conversation with somebody. So I apologize for this. Sing a song. I'll be back in a minute. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
this is what's going on.
All right.
I went up there to find out what's going on.
Okay. So you taking the car?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay with that?
Uh,
I gotta go, I got a shower and everything first, so I'll be back. I gotta shower and have lunch, then I'll be back for the car, okay?
what time are you going up? Maybe I'll go with you. I'm out of here at 2.
Oh God, we're gone for sure.
What?
They'll lock us up for
No, they
sure.
won't. They're scared shitless of me.
They'll lock us up for
No. I know all the cops there, and we'll get George in there. George will have them wrapped up in a mess, and they'll be signing themselves in, right? the staff will sign themselves in. Yeah, all right. My apologies for that. My brother-in-law showed up, which is kind of odd. I figured they'd be laying brick today because it's nice, but one of the guys he used to buy stone from, who got hurt on the job and been putting a claim in with his insurance company because his back's totally screwed up. He's been fighting with them for over a year, and they denied his claim, and so he's been scrapping away at it, and so the police showed up at his shop because he's complaining about what's going on with his insurance claim and that. And the cops, who are now trained in mental health, went over to his shop and told him that he had to come with them. And he said, if you refuse, what? And he said, we'll arrest you. So my brother-in-law came in to get the car because he's running construction trucks, and I said, what are you doing? He says, Chris is in the psych ward up in Owen Sound. And I did a story about this, I don't know, last week or whenever, about the gentleman on the East Coast who ended up in the psych ward because he was tweeting or twittering, whatever the hell I call that, online about what happened to a gentleman that the police shot on, I think it was New Brunswick maybe. And the deal was that he was voicing his opinion about what was going on, and the police went to his house and shot him once in the chest and twice in the head. And so this other guy started explaining what the hell went down there. Next thing he knows, he's in the psych ward, and luckily for him, very luckily for him, he managed to get out of there. And that goes back to when I you know, it's got to be, Jesus, I don't know how long ago that is. It's got to be getting on 10 years ago. When we were doing shows on Blog Talk, and I got that call from a guy in Switzerland who explained what they do in Switzerland. And you don't get your day in court. They just, if you're causing too much problems by telling the truth and that, and it starts to irritate them, they'll just pick you up and take you to psych ward and sign you in, and that's that for you. So this is getting totally out of hand. I know Chris, nice guy, and I know he's been getting banged around, and because these corporations like to take the money, but they don't like to pay it out. So and what happened, right? He knows a lot of stuff, right? So he knows he can track him on the cell phone, and he knows he's been tracked on the cell phone. So there's a place in Kitchener somewhere that you can take your cell phone and they'll debug it or whatever you want to call it, so that it's clean. You know, he's been telling his parents about this, and his parents are older, and they've been watching TV and reading newspapers all their lives. And they're going, I don't think that's possible, yada, yada, yada. So he loses. This is what always happens, you know. The family walks away and then leaves their own family members hung to dry because they can't believe what's real. It's beyond their scope, and that's unfortunate. So if Bruce doesn't get out of here before 2, I may just go up to Owen Sound. I've never been in a psych ward, so I may just slide up to Owen Sound with him and his brother, see if we can't do something with Chris, because they had him apparently stashed as a number 1 or something, which means they're going to hold him for 72 hours. And now they're saying he's delusional, and they want him to put him to number 3, and which means they can hold him indefinitely. So we may have to go up there. Well, I know Bruce and his brother's going up. They've been buying stone and stuff from Chris for years, and he's a nice guy who's been screwed over, and we'll see what happens there. So my apologies. I wasn't going to go out and talk to him, but I'm glad I did, because it was kind of unexpected. Something told me something ain't right here, and yeah. If I'm not on the show Tuesday night, come to the psych ward in Owen Sound and rescue me. But this has got to get stopped somehow. Yeah, the mental, this is from, Jules says, Ron, whatever that is, the Mental Health Act is a control tool. Absolutely. Absolutely. We've talked about this before. I put documents in here before. I have still some documents open. I can put them back in today if I can track them down here. But this is the whole deal, and it's to put fear into the people, right? It's all about fear. And my attitude is fear not, right? Because if you live in fear, they're going to take us down. We're going to have to step it up, you know. Well, yeah, you know, if you look at the old movie, I mean, if you really understand the movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that's exactly it, because they always tell you what they're up to, right? Here's a guy that's perfectly friggin' normal. He thinks he's getting the easy route. Instead of doing jail time, he's going to do some psych ward time, and then he's got more freedom and this and that and the other thing, and he's just having fun. You know, he's just having fun. But what happens is he starts talking to the other inmates, and he starts to get them to think a little bit about what their situation is. Like, you're not crazy. What are you doing in here? Oh, I need my meds. And no, you don't need your frickin' meds. Throw them stupid things away. And he became a threat to that particular little system. And therefore, they must deal with the gentleman. And we know what the end result of that was. But that was the storyline. Don't challenge us, right? Do not challenge us. Well, the whole point is we haven't challenged them, and they've had their way with us for way too long. And we have to challenge them. We have to take them down. We're going to take them down. And that's a fact. So, you know, this fear nonsense. I mean, when you have the head of mental health in Canada stand at a TED Talk and say nonchalantly, we're all mentally ill. Now, if you go and look at the UN definition of mental illness, everything's so ambiguous, it's nuts, because they're all lawyers, right? And lawyers are criminals, and lawyers are liars, and so on and so forth. So and it's always based on fiction. Absolutely correct. I'm going to, where was I here? I'm going to go back and just finish reading here what I wrote in here, okay, so I finished it up, and they strive for world domination, mass depopulation. The politicians, right and left, are their puppets. But anybody with half a brain knows that, who have sold their souls, and they have. Only one who's sold their soul can shake your hand and smile at you while they're lying to you. Only one who sold their soul has done that. Only an amoral man or woman could do that. then that's every single politician that ever was. And they are the puppets of those who are pulling the world's strings. Wonder why the world is in the state it is? Look no further than those who created and control the UN. If your leaders won't cut all ties with the UN and any organization pushing their agendas, they are guilty of conspiracy to commit genocide and must be dealt with accordingly. Death of the nation state is a high priority of the UN psychopaths. The only hope for your nation is the immediate nullification of member state status with the UN. The present leader of your nation, and I don't give a sweet bejesus what nation you're in. The leader, your present leader of your nation is not important. Changing leaders does not nullify the member state status, which must be done. Right and left are boots attached to the same tyrannical body. Be deceived no longer. Now, had I put that up 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I would have got flooded with, you're crazy. I experienced that a long time ago. And I've been denouncing the UN since I was very, very, very young. You know, I got suckered. I don't like it when I've been suckered. I get really pissy about that. Now I don't get suckered. It took a lot of research and a lot of work to make sure, like my school teacher said, believe nothing you read, see, or hear until you personally verify it. The information, failure to do so opens your mind to accepting all manner of propaganda and outright lies as truth. And this is what they depend on, is us accepting their propaganda and outright lies as truth. Because we're being bombarded with a lie, which becomes somehow truth to people. But I remember going out with UNICEF when I was a little kid at Halloween, and we would be propagated with all this nonsense about all these starving children, and oh my goodness, we got to collect money at UNICEF. We didn't know what the hell UNICEF was. It was a really good thing, apparently. And we'd go out, and we would see, you know, the idea was to fill a box really fast and then go get another box. I mean, we're on it. And it wasn't really that long later that you know, our parents, when I was a kid, you know, you didn't eat your supper. I don't want it. Do you realize there's millions of starving kids in Africa? What the hell's that got to do with me? But this is the propaganda coming at you all the time. It's in the schools, and it's in your home because it's on the TV. It's in the news. Your parents don't search as well. You couldn't search it out as easily as you could then as you could now. But I mean, now it takes moments. If you know what the hell you're doing, it only takes a few minutes of your time to go and figure out who's attached to what's being said, and then you can pretty much run that pretty fast and find out where it came from and whether or not you should give it any credence, or you should out it. And 99.99% of the time, it needs to be outed for what it is. But I've been yakking this UN crap forever, and I am so sick of people going, oh, the United Nations, what are you worried about them? They're just a bunch of useless. They don't do nothing. They're useless. That's their players jumping on it to dismiss the idea that the United Nations is anything. It's not even good. It just doesn't matter. It's a non-deal. Doesn't matter. And people got sucked into that for a long, long time. So I'm pleased to say now I put this up, and the reaction is completely different than it was back then. I still have a lot of people that don't want to believe any of this stuff, but it's coming, right? You know, a gentleman wrote here, effing bullshit, UN was nowhere when Hungary needed them in 1956, so they can piss off. And that's true. The United Nations is run by the guys that start the wars. So they're the ones that manipulate all of this nonsense. And the World Bank and the IMF are attached to the UN, and the FAO, which is the food, and the WHO, which is your health and your vaccines, and UNESCO, which is your education, and so on and so forth. So you have this. It's almost like it really truly is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, on the face of it, the UN is this wonderful, caring body of highly intelligent, educated people that only care about the best for the people in the world. And then you got Mr. Hyde, which is the reality of the United Nations. Dr. Jekyll's the front, Mr. Hyde's the actual actor. And extremely dangerous and nasty, and it has to be knocked down, and it has to be dealt with. Yeah, I have people even now. This is getting somewhere, you know, because I used to get hammered for anti-Jew Zionism, anti-Israel. I used to get hammered for that, but you know, I try to explain to people, well, if you just give it a second thought. Okay? What was the First World War about? Setting up the League of Nations and the State of Israel. It failed because the United States wouldn't, or not the United States, but America wouldn't sign on to it. So, ramp it up again, another depression, another war, and we end up with the United Nations, which was just a rebranding of the League of Nations and the State of Israel. So we know that they're connected. Totally connected. Same people. So it's nice to see this comment here. UN is Zion controlled, and they have infiltrated the governments of every country to control democracy and freedoms by their slaveries, which is absolutely correct. And I have a Sharon Johnson, here goes true. I have somebody put this up. See, these are women. A lot of these are women, right? You know, Jane puts up this picture here and says, disband and destroy this evil and useless cult. And it is a cult. It's a cult of evil. And she has the United Nations logo here with the laurel wreath with evil stamped across it, which she's absolutely correct. You know, yeah, so this is all good. I have, I don't know why the first time I put this up, it wouldn't fly. I don't know what happened there. I put it up, and I sent it out. I shared it, but it didn't go anywhere. It's sitting here, and I share it and don't go anywhere, so I don't know. I have been losing some of my comments that I put in on my own page and moved around. They disappear. I don't know where they're going. You know, I don't know if the folks over at Facebook are getting ticked off or what. But you know, here's another comment from a woman. You know, this is the truth, and it is the truth. And like I said, when I post stuff like this on a lot of these Facebook sites, you know, no more Trudeau, screw the Liberals, yada, yada, yada. If I put in a little picture, you know, called Trudeau, you know, satanic or something, or whatever, so I made him into a monkey one. You know, you do this shit. These little pictures that you fool around with, I have to do that once in a while, right? So if I want to post something serious on Facebook, a lot of people don't want to read nothing. Most people don't want to read anything. They just want to play in the little pictures, which just qualifies the idea that people have been kept in the child like state their entire adult lives. They never got out of being children. They were beaten down by authority when they're children and told to listen to authority and do as authority tells them, and they're still doing it when they're 50, 60, 70, 80 freaking years old. So they're still in the child state. They have never become men and women. The idea is to get people out of that child state, to stand up as grown-ups, men and women, not little children. But so I'll put a post in here that's really stupid, actually, and you know, you get thousands upon thousands of hits on it, and forever comments, and the most childlike comments you'll ever get. But when I put something in that's serious, it's really quite comical, because I know most of these sites are controlled opposition, or pushing their agenda, which is the nefarious agenda. So when I put something serious in, I will see basically the same 3, 4, 5 people. If I landed into one of their Facebooks, they will just keep posting one after the other, 8, 10, 12, 15 posts right on top of mine, even though there's been nobody posting in it up till I put that in, and then bang, 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 just to drive you down, so they can keep their stupid little message going, because they want people, oh yeah, we hate the liberals, freaking liberals suck, Trudeau sucks, you know. So they're just players, because if they were actually intelligent, they would know all parties suck. Okay? All the leadership sucks. You know, I don't know what Mr. Trump's up to down stateside, but, you know, on the one hand, he's doing, I don't know if he's playing the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, or what the hell's going on down there, because, you know, some of the stuff he's doing makes perfect sense. And some of the other stuff he's doing make no sense. You know, I watched that video of where the Cardinal was there, and all these very inbred, nefarious people were at that just before the election. I think it was the media party or whatever the hell it was, and you could see the winks, you know, on Trump coming from these people sitting there, these dignitaries, so-called dignitaries. So you knew Trump was going to win, but he has not denounced Israel. He has not removed the United Nations off the soil of America, which means that something ain't right here. I mean, if I was voted prime minister of this country, or my first order of duty would be to clean everything out of this nation that has anything to do with the United Nations. Get them out of here. I don't want to hear another damn word about climate change. I don't want to hear no more shit about these vaccines. I don't want no more GMO food being grown on my lands, on our lands. Okay? I don't want this education system here anymore. Clean it out. Get it gone. And we're going to start telling people the truth. Okay? And we're going to start building what we need in our own country. And it's too simple. It's too fast. All the debt that is this nation is fraudulent, and therefore it will be wiped clean in the morning. And we will print our own money based on our own resources, and if people don't like it, suck air. Okay? And we will build a nation of strong people who know how to look after themselves. And we're going to build them back into industrious, solid-minded, strong spirit, strong mind, and spine. Because everything else is lost cause. We're just spinning our wheels, going around, round circles as we're going down the shithole. Help me, help me, help me. I'm going down the hole. In Australia, they're doing the same thing in Australia, only they're spinning the other direction in the hole, but they're still going down the hole. And the people have absolutely no excuses. There is no excuse that can be put forward by anybody to say why they're not standing up to this nonsense. It's all based on fear. You know, you're either an animal or you're a man. If you're a man, you believe in a creator. And if you believe in a creator, you believe that we were given dominion, but it was stolen from us because we were deceived. And it says, take heed no man deceive you. And also says, fear not, because you can't accomplish anything in fear. All you can do is cower. That's what cowards do. And I would hate to think that we become a nation of cowards. Our forefathers weren't cowards. So we still got their blood coursing through our veins. So we better activate it. And it's not about you and it's not about me. It's about the kids. Every single school board everywhere needs to be sued. It is against the law to cause harm. I don't care if you're playing in the legal system or real law. It is against it is wrong to harm a child. The child is not in a position to understand. The child is not in a position to fight back. And every single school board, every single curriculum, and every single school is a form of mental child abuse. And that's easily proven. And yet it goes on and on and on and on. I mean, every school board, people ought to just walk into the school boards and grab these SOBs by the back of the neck and pitch them out the door and say, you ain't welcome back here. We're taking it. These are our children, and we will set the curriculum of what our child learns. Not these amoral a-holes that presently are in charge of the curriculums. Just got to get it done, folks. Because if you don't get it done, there's going to come a day that you wish you'd got it done. And now not only is that boot up your ass, that boot's down your throat, and you can't move. So we got to get it done. Now I see when I'm posting here on Facebook now, I'm getting a group who, I forget what they're called now, but they want to do a 1,000,000-man march on Ottawa. I think it's June 3rd through the 5th or 6th or something. I think they picked that up off the stateside. I think it's something deplorables or something, which is a good idea, but it's not going to accomplish anything. Like I said, for as long as I can remember, all of these protests and they absolutely they absolutely accomplish nothing. I mean, if you got 1 million people standing on Pennsylvania Avenue facing the White House, walk in the freaking door. Walk in the door. These leaders will run, these people will run so fast. They're all chicken shits. They're all chicken shits because they all know they're running with false authority. They know they're not legitimate. And they're laughing at us. You know, they're kind of like the pigs in that Orwell book. I forgot his real name, but we'll just call him Orwell for now. Animal Farm, you know. And we're run by the pigs, if you want to go there. And it's got to stop. But they're all chicken shits. All of them. I got a video here that I put up, and it's a girl named Saga. Oh, that's not her real name, but that's what she goes by. And she okay, this is their Million Canadian March. I'll look at this real quick and I'll go to that song. Is June the 3rd, 4th. June 3rd at 11 a.m. till June the 4th, 16, which is what, 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something. Parliament Hill, Ottawa, created for a million Canadian deplorables march against Trudeau. I don't know why they call themselves deplorable. Not deplorable, but the people who want to take their country back. It should be a march to kick the deplorables out. So there's right now we got it's a Million Man March or Million Canadian March, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to check this out. I don't know if it's another Soros funded deal. I don't know if it's attached to Occupy or Idle No More group. Haven't had a chance to check it out. But right now, this is April, and right now we have, according to this, we have 1.2 thousand, so it's 1,200 people interested, and 328 have said they're going to go. So, it would be nice, even if you can get, 1,500 or 2,000, that's all it takes. To get this done. It doesn't take a million people. I explained all of this to Alex Jones the one time I called in there many, many years ago. Just walk through the frickin' door. You're going to take that many people somewhere. You got yourself an army. You got an army, not a bunch of protesters. Just suck it up, walk through the front door and start arresting these clowns for crimes against the good men and women of the nation, which they're most definitely guilty of. One thing I don't think we're doing enough of is I don't think we're doing enough I don't think I could be wrong, but I really don't think as a whole we are speaking to the police and the military nearly as much as we should be. We have to get these guys on side, and or at least we got to get some of them on side, because they're the ones, they are the force. And they did take their oath to protect the state, which is the corporation, which is the nefarious party we got to get rid of. So what we do need to do, and I do this every opportunity I get, is to talk to these people out of uniform, even if they are wearing a uniform. I don't recognize the uniform, and talk to them as men or women. And explain to them that I am you and you are I, and we're in this together, and we need to be working together because your family, your future is just as much at risk as anybody else's, and we need to be working together. And it's amazing. Over the last bunch of years, I've noticed some of these clowns you'll never change. Right? I mean, this is just with the general public as well. But I've been having some pretty decent success with some of these guys. And they know who I am around here. Even though they've been to my house, just doing our job, I don't know how many up-teen times. But, I use this as an opportunity to speak to them. And I do know that, that one cop, of all the cops, really threw me. But when we were over at Michael Schmidt's milk hearing, in Walkerton, and Farmer George, who had been he wasn't really on the lam, but he didn't want nothing to do with this nonsense. So he showed up day of the trial, which had a warrant out for him, and the police were very good about it. You know, I know how they've been operating in the past. They would have jumped him, tackled him, handcuffed him, dragged him around in a gown, and threw him in a car or a truck and drove him out of there. But you know, one of the parties had a chat with the police, saying that George might show up, and I went up and talked to the police and told them George may show up, and this is how we're going to handle it. And Enos had told him the same downstairs, and you won't arrest him, you allow him to get into the courtroom. And this would not have happened before. They would have jumped his ass. And the police were actually very cordial. Some of the police were quite confused because they're looking like, why aren't we jumping this guy and shoving his face in the floor and handcuffing him, beating him up, maybe even taser him? But we'd gotten to some of the police and explained, you know, the difference between a police officer and a peace officer, one being a policy enforcer. And these policies are wrong, and they hurt people when you apply them. So we got some of these people to move into the realm of peace officer, and they kept a pretty good handle on things. George never was abused and was never handcuffed, even when they took him to process him. No handcuffs, and that was huge. That was absolutely huge. But then Enos got banged up when they arrested him on the warrant, and had his wrist cut up pretty bad by the cuffs, and took the police to court, of which of course the Crown threw it out. But he has a civil suit pending now. And so I guess when Enos, you know, told him that George may show up and you're going to not bother him and just let him into the courtroom, I'm sure they're looking at Enos going, right, because if we don't, we're going to end up in civil court. So, but generally they were quite good, and this is what we need to do. We need to work with these people, right? They're not really different than us. You know, they've taken an oath to the wrong entity, and that's, I think, more than anything what we have to explain to them. So that they understand what their true role is, and that we are brothers and sisters. We're not fictional entities, right? We're men and women. We're not persons of the state, and so on and so forth. So that's what we got to do. Now, I saw this new thing today. People are posting, you know, on my, leaving comments on my posts. And I see this new thing here I hadn't noticed before. It's called the Citizens Coalition Provisional Government International. Well, that sounds rather shaky, right? If it has the word international attached to it. And I see it, the one that had left the comment on my post is out of Manitoba, which always bothers me when I see something coming out of Manitoba, because that's the headquarters, the IISD, which most people have no clue what that is. But it's the International Institute for Sustainable Development out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. Maurice Strong and what was his name? Oh, I can't remember. He what the hell was his name? He's dead now too, but he wrote a few books about us being interconnected. That's a big theme with the United Nations, interconnectivity. We're all one. We're all interconnected. If a butterfly farts here, it'll knock somebody's head off in Peru. I mean, come on. But So I got this new outfit. This is Citizens Coalition Provisional Government International. And if I go there, Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was a commie, in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. Exactly. It's all planned. So it's a true statement, right? It's planned. So this here says, this is what I stand for is what I stand on. So he stands for the earth, which means that he's connected to, this is connected to the United Nations, because the United Nations world religion is earth worship, worshiping the creation, not the creator. So we know just by that statement there, what I stand for is what I stand on. So we know this is already connected to the United Nations just by that simple statement. So the Citizens Coalition Provisional Government International, that sounds really shaky. But the idea is to get everybody angry at the politics, because the politics didn't matter for the last pile of years. Doesn't matter if you vote right or left, it ain't working out for you. So we're going to have to cause a problem. That's the problem. Bad government. Now we need a solution, which is world government through the United Nations. And now we have to kick up the rhetoric, which is the reaction. And then everybody will want to be part of this Citizens Coalition Provisional Government International, which is not going to happen, of course. Okay, now, look at all the stuff popping up here. So this, the story of these guys is, this is about them. They're at Burroughs Avenue, Winnipeg, Manitoba, and there's a phone number, so I will call them. I won't be able to call them today. They won't be open, but I will call them tomorrow likely and see what they got to say for Tuesday's show. But it says, "We the people. We the people, free citizens of a global community, one and all, and equals before the law, do gather in the unity of peace and the purposeful concern of progress. We come seeking solutions." Aha. Aha. We come seeking resolutions. We offer considered input. We make definitive statements, and we ask pertinent questions that we might arrive at a general consensus. Well, that is a rallying cry to the United Nations. Now, it says why. I always like when I see why, and it says see more. This was founded on December the 4th, 2013. Now, we can go back there through the IISD and through the United Nations, and we'll find out that this is who these people are attached to. So if you see anything anywhere that says Citizens Coalition Provisional Government International, out it. Okay? Do not let people continue to be deceived by this shit. And the other one is direct democracy, which these two are very closely tied together. It's just a little different shades of the same ugly color. And their logos in green as well, different shades of green. So, but why are we doing this? Well, because ideals are like the stars. We never reach them, but like the mariners of old, we chart our course by them. The electoral system is not broken. It is incomplete. And as such, it is easily abused and taken advantage of by the corrupt and easily influenced, like the people that put this site up. I can think of no better place for free citizens to come together to weigh in on pertinent social issues instead of wasting a vote of confidence in an election that is nothing more than a popularity contest with a predictable outcome. It is my hope that the general consensus replicates and like-minded groups arise locally and globally. Global being implemented at the local, giving all power to the global. I mean, that story sold, it's retarded, but people don't seem to be catching on to it the way they should be. Let's see. The next logical step to progress, making sense of idle no more, while dispelling the darkness surrounding the anonymous affiliation. Idle no more came straight out of the United Nations. Anonymous affiliation is the United Nations. I mean, I get such a kick. I don't get a kick. I get pissed off about it. You know, anonymous, we won't forget, or we, whatever it is, their stupid saying. And here's this doofus, no face, the faceless bureaucracy is what that really stands for, with the UN logo and the laurel wreath. Duh. We are anonymous. No, you're not. We know who you are. Okay? You're the most evil, amoral SOBs that ever landed on this planet, and we're going to kick your ass off of it. And that ain't being anonymous. That's just in your face. That's what's going to happen. So it goes on. It says the general consensus is a civic poll. The general consensus only desires to find the pulse of humanity that we might begin to build today for a better tomorrow. That's straight out of the United Nations. I provide the link to the original community group forum I created for this process. I would hope it is an idea that is sound enough to replicate on every level of society. You're all worth it. I can prove it, and this is the best, and this is but a part of how I do it. So peace on. That's them. Those that understand don't say peace on. We say piss off. There's a big difference there. This was founded on December the 13th. Now we have a weigh-in on Matters. What Matters Facebook group that this is attached to. We'll go over here and look. When the people lead, the leaders will follow. Gandhi, who was a player. So you know this is wrong. Anytime you see Gandhi or any of these other dicks that they put up as these great humanitarians, you know you're going in the wrong damn direction. That's all part of the propaganda process. What do we got on this site here? Okay, click here to support Indigenous women, human rights organization. Okay, that's wrong. Who do we got here? Shoring up Canada's economic future conversation with Dominic Barton. Turkey must choose democracy. Exactly. So we got gender marketing here, globalized anger. This is all just shit. And you gotta pay attention to it. So this is a general consensus World Voice Forum page. I should join. No, I don't even want. See, I don't want to join this shit because then they're going to hammer on me. I got to come at them. I joined this. I joined one of the sites for direct democracy. I had them on the show twice. They're full of shit, so I really hate it when I put up something that people really need to pay attention to, and these jackasses start pasting in their little logos direct democracy shit, right? So I've been kind of trying to lead them in as much as possible before we give them the final foot stomp. Here's another group that needs to be dealt with, and it's called Soldiers of Odin. Now, a lot of people think the Soldiers of Odin are good. If you go to their site, they believe in the Canadian Constitution. Well, then they're stupid, or they're on the other side, and they're generally on the other side. They are not here to protect you. They're here to lead you down the wrong road again. Because when the Soldiers of Odin say that they believe in, well, I was at their site, and what they believe in is it's all UN shit. It's all UN stuff. So they are not legitimate. And this is what they do. They keep, it's like, somebody said this a long time ago, it's like whack-a-mole, right? You know, Occupy raised its ugly head and it got smacked down eventually. Idle No More got smacked down eventually. And climate change is getting smacked down now. So they just keep, little moles keep popping their heads up with a new headline. Now we have General Consensus World Voice Forum, we have the Citizens Coalition, we have Direct Democracy, and so on and so forth. We have the Jews are calling, this is one of the best ones of all time. The Jews are complaining about the Muslims being anti-Jewish. I mean, they're sleeping together. It's just like whack-a-mole. You knock them down, they poke their little heads up with different logos on them all over the place. You just got to keep beating on these slobs. But the main target is not all of these little things, but you got to talk to people about these things because you don't want them being deceived and being led astray. And once someone is led astray and they're convinced that these groups are meaningful and good, you're going to lose them because it's very difficult once they accept something. It's all cult shit. Once they've accepted the cult, it's hard to get them back. So, yeah, Soldiers of Odin, avoid. Direct Democracy, avoid. This coalition, Citizens Coalition, avoid. It just keeps coming at us. Now, here's the IISD, and this is basically what they want to do, and this is what direct democracy is all about. And you can get there. I mean, you go to direct democracy, and it doesn't take long, and you end up at the UN. You know, that's where you end up, because that's who's running the show. That's who's financing it. Excuse me, it might not be the UN per se. It could be Soros, Rockefeller. They're all involved in this stuff, always have been. Problem, reaction, solution. So what they want to do here, and I've been saying this for a long time, is they want to, what does that say here? They want internet voting. And that's what they've been doing. That's what direct democracy about. It's about global consensus through a button. Basically referendum questions, and you hit the button, and then it becomes global law. At the global level, UN development goals, are you heading out?
Well, I didn't know how long you were going to be.
I have got about 45 minutes. I'd really like to go up there. No, I'm serious. Where is it? At the hospital?
Yeah.
Fourth floor. They got bars on the windows? Like, are these people jumping out the fourth floor or what? There's, like, have you seen him lately?
He stopped there about 3 days ago. We were having a break.
Yeah.
next day, I get a phone call.
Yeah, but how did he seem?
He seemed okay. He was a little paranoid about talking in the truck because he's afraid they'd hear him through the radio and shit.
Well, I have lots of people out west who are suffering from the same situation, right? And I mean, look, when I phoned the cops up here at the Max Milk, I'm talking to the cops in London, and because I don't have a cell phone, and
They knew
eh,
exactly where you were.
yeah, that messed me up. So you're at the Max Milk Kincardine, and I just looked at the phone and went, I don't want nothing to do with this damn thing. Like I don't have a cell phone, and I ain't buying one, and I ain't paranoid about it, right? It's just what it is. You know, I don't have Windows 10 because I know what it is, right? That's not got to do with paranoid. That's got to do with being able to think, or at least know what the hell's going on. So, yeah, so this is my brother-in-law dropped in here. Apologize for that. I got off subject a bit, but um, yeah, I really want to go up to Owen Sound today. So if I ain't on air Tuesday night, um, I'll put a notice out now. So if I ain't on air Tuesday night, somebody do the show, hey? I might be busy. Okay, here you go. I try to get Soldiers of Odin on the show. They ain't going there. Of course they're not going there because they're players. Um, uh, you know, if we could get some of these people on the show, like we had Direct Democracy on twice, or one of their spokesmen, and he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. They're doing a song and dance, and so now they're trying to take shots at me, which is fine because normally my attitude is you go take your shots, but in the end you're going to shoot yourself in the foot because I'm more solid than you are, and people understand that. If not at the moment, eventually, and so you lose. There's a lot of people I'd like to get on the show. A lot of people won't come on the show because they know I know, and I'm not going to play too much of a game with them. I'll play a little bit of game with them, but not too much. And so, you know, there's a lot of people I'd like to get on the show. They ain't coming here with a 10. You know, there's not a hope in hell they're coming on this show. And if they're not willing to come on this show, I suppose we could use that as a gauge, I suppose. If you invite somebody to come on my show and they refuse to come on my show, then you just mark them as a player, period, and drive on. Maybe that's what we should do. Everybody who listens to this show, go get me somebody you think is on the up and up and invite them on the show. If they won't come on the show, you know they're not on the up and up. End of subject. I like that. Because I'm tired of I'm really tired of all these, you know, there's so much deception out there, it's ridiculous. And people are following people. No, actually, the direct democracy movement is like a low-level virus, really. They're setting this up just like they did with Occupy. They're setting it up everywhere, and it does have a certain amount of influence. You know, if you put in direct democracy, you can put in almost any city or any province or state, and you're going to find a direct democracy. So they do need to get knocked down hard because they, like everything else at the local level, they go in at the local level and they work from there. And a lot of people at the local level don't do any research and they don't know. So they say, oh, well, it's a global thing, direct democracy. We didn't just start it up. It's global. And this is a way to repair the problems we have in our politics. And that's what happens. And they get caught up in this stuff. May as well put this in here, seeing as I may be going to a mental health unit today. This is one from Canada, eMental Health in Canada. It's all about transformation. Everything that's going on, you can always find the word transforming or transformation attached to it, right? Transforming the mental health system using technology. Cell phones. So I'll put this in here. This is not a bad piece. It's not that long. It's only 43 pages long. I'm sure you can wing through this pretty quick. Wearable computing and monitoring devices, i.e., your cell phone, right? So yeah, I'll stick this in the chat, and you can go through it. And maybe I should print this out and take it up to the psych ward and drop it in the laps of those working there, who, of course, are just probably not understanding what they're even involved in. They're just, of course, doing their jobs. And people doing their job through ignorance is pretty scary stuff. So that's that. And is that the background? Let me see. Let's see here. I may have shut this other one down. And this is, okay, this particular one is from the WHO, which is your mental health legislation. And when I say the mental health, when everything is directed and controlled through the United Nations, I ain't kidding you. Okay, they put the problems together, they come up with the solutions, and it goes through your national governments, because they're all member states of the UN. They're subservient to the UN, and they do as they're bloody well told, because they're obligated to do it through international conventions and treaties and all that kind of stuff. So here, I'll throw this in. So I've thrown in the Canadian health plan, which of course showed up after this one. And this is a draft comprehensive mental health action plan, because you got to have an action plan, from 2013 to 2020. And mental health, according to this, is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stress of life, can work productively, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental disorders comprise a broad range of problems with different symptoms. However, they are generally characterized by some combination of abnormal thoughts or emotions, behavior, and relationships with others. These disorders are included and described in Chapter 5, Mental and Behavioral Disorders, of the WHO's International Statistical Classification of Diseases and Related Health Problems, 10th revision. The area of disorders covered are as follows: organic, which includes symptomatic mental disorders, F10, F19, mental and behavioral disorders due to psychoactive substance use, schizophrenia, F20 to 29 equals schizophrenia, comma, which is schizotypal and delusional disorders. Yeah, so I should print out F20 to 29. F30 to 39, mood, affective disorders. So you got to watch your mood. 40 to 48, neurotic, stress-related, and somatoform disorders. 59, behavioral syndromes associated with psychological disturbances and physical factors. 69, disorders of adult personality and behavior. I guess if you act like an adult, you think like an adult, then you have disorders of adult personality, which is kind of cool because they've went out of their way to keep us in the child state our entire lives. So I guess if you start to think as an adult and act as an adult, it becomes a mental problem. And then we have mental retardation, disorders of psychological development, behavior and emotional disorders with onset usually occurring in childhood and adolescence. And then we have F99, which covers everything else. And it comes under the classification of unspecified mental disorders. So if you don't fit into one of these, we can make a new one up on the spot, or mix them all together in the basomatic of mental disorders and pour it out, and you will fit somewhere in there. And that's like the head of the mental health organization here in Canada said at the TED Talks, and she said it very proudly, we are all mentally ill. Which is kind of sad. I'm not mentally ill. My wife isn't mentally ill. My brother-in-law isn't mentally ill. I'm pretty sure Chris isn't mentally ill, but I got him. And we're going to go try and spring him. Disability. Disability is an umbrella term for impairments, activity limitations, and participation restrictions, denoting the negative aspects of the interaction between an individual, in brackets, with a health condition, and that individual's contextual factors, again in brackets, environmental and personal factors. The mental health policy, mental health plan, and mental health policy is the official statement of a government which defines the vision and details an organized set of values, principles, objectives, and areas for action to improve the mental health of a population. A mental health plan details the strategies, activities, timeframes, budgets that will be implemented to realize the vision and achieve the objectives of the policy, as well as the expected outputs, targets, and indicators that can be used to assess whether implementation has been successful. This is the kind of garbage lingo that comes out of the UN on a constant basis. It's written by the mentally ill. You and I are not mentally ill. The general population is not mentally ill. Those who write for, control the different organizations connected to the United Nations, these, by definition, are the mentally ill. And so, you know the old saying, the inmates are running the asylum, and that's absolutely correct. And we have got to cut ourselves loose from the UN and every organization attached to it. So now we have mental health legislation or mental health provisions integrated into other laws. Example, anti-discrimination. Okay, so anti-discrimination, general health, disability, employment, social welfare, education, housing, and other areas. So mental health legislation, example, anti-discrimination. Okay, that would be motion 103 about Islamophobia. Okay, that's a mental illness. If you have Islamophobia, or in other words, you understand what the hell's going on, then obviously you're discriminatory against Islam, and that falls under the mental health legislation. Okay, so to pick you up because you're you're discriminating against, and we can't have that. And may also cover a broad array of issues, including access to mental health care and other services, quality of mental health care, admission to mental health facilities, consent to treatment, freedom from cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, freedom from discrimination, and the enjoyment of a full range of civil, cultural, economic, political, and social rights, and provisions for legal mechanisms to promote and protect human rights. Example, review bodies to oversee admission and treatment to mental health facilities, monitoring bodies to inspect human rights conditions in facilities, and complaint mechanisms, which ain't going to work out well for you because they're the ones that set up the nut houses. They're the ones that set up the rules for it. And besides, you're not a human, you're a man or a woman. This is the caging of animals, so to speak. Mental health services are the means by which effective interventions for mental health are delivered. The way these services are organized has an important bearing on their effectiveness. Typically, mental health services include outpatient facilities, mental health day treatment facilities, psychiatric wards in a general hospital, community mental health teams, supported housing in the community, and mental hospitals. Recovery, from the perspective of the individual with mental illness, recovery means gaining and retaining hope. Understanding one's abilities and disabilities, engagement in an active life, personal autonomy, social identity, meaning and purpose in life, a positive sense of self. Recovery is not synonymous with cure. Recovery first refers to both internal conditions experienced by persons who describe themselves as being in recovery, which is hope, healing, empowerment, and connection, and external conditions that facilitate recovery and implementation of human rights, a positive culture of healing and recovery-oriented services. In other words, they got their hooks into you and their pharmaceutical drugs into you the rest of your life. And if you don't take your drugs, you're going to end up like Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with some electrodes stuck in your temples. And then you're cured. And don't worry about it anymore, because you ain't got the capacity to worry about it anymore. You'll just stare off into space with a happy, drooly little grin on your face. Thanks again for coming to our Psychiatric Institute. We hope you enjoy your stay. Psychological disabilities refer to people who have received a mental health diagnosis and who have experienced negative social factors, including stigma, discrimination, exclusion. People living with psychological disabilities include ex-users, current users of mental health care services, as well as persons that identify themselves as survivors of these services or with the psychosocial disability itself. Who are these vulnerable groups? Certain groups have an elevated risk of developing mental disorders. This vulnerability is brought about by social factors and the environments in which they live. Vulnerable groups in a society will differ across countries, but in general, they share common challenges related to their social and economic status and social supports and living conditions, including stigma and discrimination, the violence and abuse, restrictions in exercising civil and political rights. Okay, now these are vulnerable groups, right? And we all know that our civil and political rights have been restricted down to the point now where you have, if there's a big government meeting somewhere, be it Bilderberg or whoever, they'll give you a little protest area. You go in there and protest your little ass off. We'll have a fence around you. And so you can just go in there and play. And that is a restriction on your civil and political rights. And what happens too often, just like that gentleman that was bitching about the guy who had been bitching about the government, who they shot and killed, and then he voices what he thinks about what happened to the guy. He was dissenting against something, which is his right to do, and they went to his home and shot him once in the chest, twice in the head. And then so this guy is trying to expose what happened and why this guy was shot. And what happens, the same cops that went to the house to shoot the first guy are the same cops that went to the second guy's house, pick him up and put him in a nut house. Very, very dangerous stuff. But it's nothing to fear. Because if you fear it, you ain't going to change nothing. And it's just going to get worse. So this other vulnerable groups are exclusion from participating fully in society, reduced access to health and social service, reduced access to emergency relief services, lack of educational opportunities, exclusion from income generation and employment opportunities, increased disability, and premature death. These are the vulnerable groups. That sounds just about like everybody. And links to other global action plans, strategies, and programs. The Global Mental Health Action Plan has conceptual and strategic links to other global action plans which have been developed, including the following: the Global Strategy to Reduce the Harmful Use of Alcohol, the Global Plan of Action on Social Determinants of Health, covers better governance of health and development, increased participation of policy making and implementation, reorientation of the health sector towards reducing health inequities, strengthening global governance and collaboration, monitoring progress and increasing accountability to social determinants. Many of the risks and vulnerabilities of the mental health problems are common to other health problems. Implementation of the Global Health Action Plan addresses the key areas covered in the action plan on these social determinants of health, and not only contributes to improved mental health, but also makes a positive contribution in tackling the social determinants of health more generally. Now, you know a lunatic wrote this, right? Because only a lunatic would write this, believing anyone with a sane mind would not notice that this was written by a lunatic. And these people are nuts. They're amoral, and they're sociopathic psychopaths. By definition, is who these people are. Strengthening global governance. That's everywhere. I don't want global governance, nor do you want global governance. Because that means, and it's exactly why America did not sign on to the League of Nations after the First World War, because the public education system had not got a hold of the minds yet, and the people in America still understood why. They still had enough history in their minds to understand why they fought the War of Independence, to become an independent nation, an independent people. And they had no intention of signing anything that would water down their independence. And that's why we had the Second World War, because they needed America to sign on. So they took the time between the First World War and the Second World War to really fully implement the public education system, the rhetoric, the newspaper articles, and yada, 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 and fire up the Second World War. And out of that came Israel and the United Nations. And it's all about the death of the nation state. Because you can't have a world government if you still have a nation state. And that's what's all going on here, is death of the nation state. To give you such bad politics and such bad policies in your countries to make everything look totally chaotic and not workable anymore. So we need a solution, and the solution is brought to you by the same people that caused the chaos, which is a world government based on direct democracy, where you just go to your computer, you're alerted, and we need your vote. That's why you have high speed internet in the middle of frickin' nowhere, so that you can push the button and you can vote on a global issue globally from your living room. And then you're really screwed. Because they will make up the problems in the referendums that need the solutions, and because they own the media and they own the internet, they will plug you full of propaganda as to why you need to vote a certain way on a certain issue. And most of the people will not take the time to look into the reality of the issue, where it came from, what it represents, what the outcome of the vote's going to be. And just like little children, push the red button. They push the button. If you vote by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll give you some air miles. Oh, geez, I got to get in on that. Then you'll vote. You won't know what you voted about. But I tell you, it won't be good for you. And this is the way this is what they've done to the people. They've turned them into, I don't want to call them mentally ill because it's the mentally ill that set all this up. But they have kept people in the child position. There's very few adults running around out there. There's very few people with the capacity to actually think. There's not that many people that want to think. It hurts their heads. They'd rather watch the hockey game and then get into a vibrant discussion about a new jersey or a goal or this or that has no bearing or importance whatsoever. But then people, they thrive on that kind of shit. So here we have a worker. See, this is all tied into mental health. We'll do this one first. Action Plan for the Global Strategy for the Prevention and Control of Non-Communicable Diseases. Outlines the proposed strategies and actions to tackle the growing public health burden imposed by non-communicable diseases, with a focus on cardiovascular diseases, cancers, chronic respiratory diseases, and diabetes, given the considerable comorbidity between mental health and physical problems. The Global Mental Health Action Plan is expected to contribute to better health outcomes for people with the above 4 NCD and vice versa. A new action plan for the period 2013 to 2020 is under development. Now, here's what we're going up to see about today, I think, is Workers' Health Global Action Plan 2008 to 2017 provides the principles and objectives necessary for maintaining physical and mental health in the workplace, including preventing exposure to occupational hazards, delivering essential public health interventions, and providing access to health services. The Global Plan of Action includes the implementation options aimed at ensuring the safety and productivity of all workers. And here it is, folks, in all member states, of which your country is a member state of the United Nations, meaning you are subservient to the United Nations. But here we have this Workers' Health Global Action Plan. We have a guy who got hurt, and he puts in his paperwork saying he got hurt, and he's supposed to get some kind of remuneration for that, of which the insurance company don't want to pay. So then, he sued them, I guess, right? He sued somebody, and they don't like that shit. Over time, they got him up at the ward. And it's no different. I don't know if some of you remember, I was over on Orion Talk Radio, had Dr. I think that was on Orion. I had Dr. Rob on from Connecticut, who was a very well-respected veterinarian with 2 offices in the PetSmart stores. And what happened to him just blew him away, because just like Chris is a normal guy running a business, and then his life gets turned inside, outside, upside down. And the same thing happened to Dr. Rob. He realized that he was actually harming people's pets by giving them these vaccinations, because they were getting cancers on their hips where the vaccination was being injected. And then it dawned on him that, why is he giving the same amount of vaccine to a St. frickin' Bernard as a Chihuahua? That made no sense to him at all. A Chihuahua weighs about the same as a what? Yeah, his tongue. Yeah, a St. Bernard's tongue weighs the same as a Chihuahua. So you're given this vast amount of vaccine. So he being a caring man thought, geez, I better back this off. So he started figuring out what the max dose was for a big dog, and then the little dogs, he brought it down. Well, all of a sudden, the number of vaccines being sold through his offices are going down. And vaccines are worth a lot of money. It's not about care of your pet or care of your parent or care of yourself. It's about the money and control. So they come in and they want to know what the hell's going on. And he says, well, we're getting cancers on these things. And I'm trying to do the right thing. And they went ape shit on him, threw him out of his offices. And he went back to protest. And then the cops come along, picked him up, and took him to the psych ward. Now, this is totally outside of the realm of this gentleman's life. I mean, he's a guy that just went to school and wanted to be a veterinarian and be a really good one. And by backing off the vaccines, he was showing that he actually cared about the animals, not the money. And what does he get in return for that? He gets dragged off to the psych ward. And this would be totally out of his realm of understanding. And like he said, I was really lucky because it just happened to be that one of my customers was the head nurse, and she was freaked out, seeing me sitting there going, what the hell are you doing here? And he's going, I don't know, but get me out. So she did. She got him out. And then he got dragged through court and through court and through court. And as far as I know, he won. And but like I told him, we were talking off air. I said, you going to win this? You got to get up on your moral high horse and go. And that was his plan. I haven't talked to him for a while, but he had the Crown and that turning their story around to benefit him. So, good will overcome evil if you stick to your guns. Global Campaign for Violence Prevention presents a set of 6 goals for curbing the cause and ensuing repercussions of violence around the world, of which we, the UN, created. I put that in. The first 2 goals aim to prioritize violence prevention within the global public health agenda. The next 3 aim to build strong foundations for ongoing violence prevention efforts. And the last aims to focus support for violence prevention efforts on evidence-based prevention strategies, example measures to improve parenting and parent-child relationships. Now, the last thing you want is the UN or anybody attached to them messing with your child. But like I said before, UNESCO is basically in charge of education, and the curriculums that are being pushed in your schools are evil, which makes your school board evil, which means you need to either go down there and confront your local school board, and if they don't like that, then just shove them out the friggin' door. If they don't like that, sue their asses into the ground. Because it is a clear-cut clinical case of mental child abuse that's going on in the school. And mental child abuse, as in any child abuse, is against the law. So your school board is breaking the law, and you need to go at them, or you need to get the kids out of there. Because the WHO, which is your vaccine machine, your FAO, which is your GMO machine, your UNESCO, which is your education machine, and so on and so forth, have complete and total control of your children. And that has to stop. You've got to do something about that one. The Global Mental Health Action Plan will also build upon several WHO regional action plans and strategies for mental health and substance abuse that have been developed and or are in the process of development. These include the Regional Strategy for Mental Health, Africa, Regional NCD Strategic Plan in the African region. We have some declarations there, probably we will need to read. Reduction of the harmful use of alcohol, a strategy for the WHO Africa region, strategy for mental health and substance abuse in the Eastern Mediterranean region, Pan American Health Organization, strategy and plan action on mental health. Pan American Health Organization Regional Plan of Action to Reduce Harmful Use of Alcohol, Pan American Health Organization Regional Plan of Action on Substance Abuse and Public Health, Regional Strategy for Mental Health Western Pacific Region, European Action Plan to Reduce the Harmful Use of Alcohol, Maternal, Child, and Adolescents Mental Health for the Eastern Mediterranean, European Mental Health Strategy under development. And this just goes on and on and on here. Department of Economic and Social Affairs, United Nations promotes mainstreaming of the rights of persons with disabilities, including persons with mental, psychosocial disabilities in development responses. So if I have a psychosocial disability, I would suppose is that, if somebody is, take Bruce Jenner, for instance. I heard he just had his dick cut off. You won't be sorry about that one. But if I don't accept these genders that these people are throwing at me, and apparently there's 60 some of them now, then I would be discriminating, or I suppose I have a psychosocial disability because I don't use these pronouns and that. These are all these things that they're building up that they can tag you with. And people need to, shout it from the rooftop. Like I always say, say what you mean what you say. And if you offend someone or they don't like it, they got the option to walk away. This is not about discrimination. This is not about, offenses. You're supposed to be an adult. Children would go, Mommy, he said I'm really not an elephant, even though I self-identify as one. This is keeping people in the childlike position. Adults, if I don't like something you said or you don't like something I said, we'll get into an argument or discussion about it. And what adults normally do is discussion is healthy because out of a discussion, even if you're both in totally disagreement with one another, a healthy discussion will give you a pause for thought about how you feel or how you think, and as well as for the other party. In the world we live in now, I'm offended. So? What? So what? You're offended. What was that? Well, I'm going to take you to human rights. Fine. Let's go. Because I would love to get hauled in front of the Human Rights Tribunal. That would be like a holiday for me, man. That would be just too much freaking fun. Oh, you don't want to go there? Oh, why? Am I fearful of these people? Not. Why are you fearful of these people? These people are manipulators. They're deceivers. They're freaking evil. Stomp on it. Because it ain't going to go away otherwise. It's just going to get bigger and badder on your ass. So you best start stomping on it, because that's what needs to be done. I mean, this stuff goes on and on and on. The International Labor Organization seeks to address psychosocial factors through health promotion in the workplace. The International Organization for Migration works to strengthen the capacity of mental health and psychosocial services offered to migrants and crisis-affected populations in emergency and post-emergency situations. United Nations Population Fund, which wants you off the earth, integrates mental health as part of the outputs of its strategic plan. The UNFPA considers mental health, an emerging issue. The Constitution of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, known as UNESCO, as part of the Interagency Network of Education, the INEE in emergencies, integrates concern for psychosocial well-being into emergency education programs. UNICEF integrates a psychosocial perspective in its child protection and education activities. UNICEF, through the protection sector, has been the United Nations system's largest funder of community-based psychosocial support activities during and after emergencies. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East provides mental health and psychosocial support for Palestinian refugees in 2 of its 5 fields, In 2011, the UNRWA and the WHO signed cooperation agreement for a joint program of community mental health care for Palestinian refugees, which have been run over, blown up, destroyed, had their houses bulldozed by Israel, who was a partner in the creation of the United Nations. But the United Nations is there for the Palestinian people? I don't think so. Just the way they do this shit. That's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde syndrome coming out again. The United Nations Commission of Refugees aims for full integration of mental health concerns with health services operations for refugees. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime promotes the prevention, treatment, and care of drug dependence and integration of people with drug abuse problems. The UNODC and WHO signed a cooperation agreement for a joint program on drug dependence treatment and care. Now, excuse me, this is where your needle programs come from. Okay, you got people shooting up all over. This is about drug dependency. Yeah, keeping them dependent on the drugs. If you understand how these people work, it's so freaking nefarious. It's nuts. You know, where did all these drug problems come from? Okay, they were brought here. Why? To destroy society. Why? So we can come in and help society. Ooh, that's nasty. But that's the program. That's how this stuff works, and that's just the way it is. And we got to come to terms with it. Okay, now there's a lot of links in here. Holy crap, man. I'm going to put this in the chat, and you need to go through this. And if you see something that interests you, hit the link and bring it on the show, and we'll discuss it. The United Nations Development Program is moving towards incorporation of non-communicable conditions, including mental disorders, at the country level. That would be your member state. International regional human rights treaties. Okay, so this is what we're tangled up with. This is why the migrants are just walking through our borders. That's why the police are shaking their hands when they're coming across the border. Okay, it's got nothing to do whatsoever really with Trudeau. I suppose he could stand up and say, this is bull crap, I ain't putting up with this. And they say, well, you're obligated to do so because of the way we sucked you guys in through these myriad of treaties over the years and interconnected one to the other until we got a stranglehold on you where you have to let these migrants in. Hell, we created them for a reason, and that's to take down the West, so you can't stop them from coming through because you're obligated to let them in. Now, a real man would stand up and say, I don't give a shit who signed what when. The borders are up, they're solid, and these guys ain't coming in here. That's what a real man would do. But a UN puppet, of course, is, well, I'm obligated. But the media never tells you about these things. They never tell you about these conventions and that were signed, these treaties that were signed, these obligations that became international law. They don't tell you about any of that shit. So, you know, here is a list of stuff at the bottom of this. This is on page 8. Giving you a bunch of conventions and stuff that attaches us to all of the abuse that is going on to our people via the UN and its many, many agencies. And it is abuse. They put it across as caring. It's abuse. So I'm going to put this in. This is actually a pretty good document because it is loaded with links. Okay, so I would imagine this will expand out. While this document's only 9 pages, I would suspect once you start hitting these links and stuff, you will probably expand this out into thousands of pages. I hit the first link; it's 70 pages promoting mental health concepts, emerging evidence practice. But I really would like people to take the time to go through this thing. You buzz through it pretty quick, and find out things that might be interesting to you and hit a few links and see where it takes you, because this is all about knowledge. Knowledge is power, and without knowledge, we got nothing. Now, once you have knowledge, and knowledge is no good again, knowledge is good. Being able to see, being able to know means you're not going to be deceived, which means you're in a very powerful position. But if you have all this knowledge and you refuse to do anything with it, then there's no point in having it. We're out of time here. I guess I'm going to go on sound because Bruce hung out here with me till the end of the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll be back Tuesday night, 7, 8 o'clock, right here on UCY.tv. And as always, Hal will be up here on deck at 3 o'clock. And he always has some very, very interesting information and research, hell of a researcher. And what we need to do is we need to start taking these people out behind the woodshed and give them a good whooping. And so I'll leave you with this. Hal's up on deck behind the woodshed at 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock right here on UCY.tv. Thank you, Jules, for the time here. And thank the listeners and those in the chat. Everybody have a wonderful day. We're off to the psych ward. So hopefully we'll be back here Tuesday to do the show, and we'll see how it went at the psych ward. Okay, everybody take care. We are out of here.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes gun. Trees, lie to your face.